An SDM officer was going to her girlfriend's wedding. She was dressed in common girl's attire, neither a government car nor security. Just like an ordinary girl, she was riding a motorcycle. When she reached Hasnabad, in front of the city, she saw a police outpost. 3-4 policemen were standing on the street outside the outpost, and Inspector Prasenjit stood in uniform in the middle. He gestured with his stick for the girl to stop. The girl got off the motorcycle and stood by the roadside. Inspector asked, "Where are you going?" The girl replied very quietly, "Going to a girlfriend's wedding." Inspector Prasenjit looked her up and down. The girl was a 28-year-old beautiful woman whose name was Singh. Then he smiled and said, "Well, you're going to eat and drink at the girlfriend's wedding, but won't your father buy you a helmet? Why haven't you grown up? Moreover, the motorcycle is also running very loudly. Now you have to pay a fine." Inspector asked for the fine to be paid. Spectrum understood that his intention was bad, and it was harassment. She said, "Sir, I did not break any law." "Oh, madam, don't try to teach us our law." She looked at a constable standing on the side and then looked at Spectrum and said, "You have to pay the fine." Suddenly, Spectrum felt a slap on her cheek. "You are arguing too much. Be quiet." For a moment, Spectrum's head turned, but she controlled herself. The anger was evident in her eyes. The inspector in charge said with a laugh, "There's still arrogance left in her. I have to teach her well." One constable came forward and said, "Sir, take her to the police station. There she will understand how to talk to the police." A constable pulled her arm and said, "Come to the car." Spectrum jerked away and said in a firm voice, "Don't try to put your hands on me. It won't be good." Inspector's anger increased. She said to a constable, "Look at her arrogance." A constable came forward, grabbed Spectrum Singh's hair and tried to drag her forcefully. Spectrum was in pain, but still she said nothing about her identity. She wanted to see how low they could stoop. Then a policeman angrily hit the motorcycle with a stick and said, acting like a big saint, "Now I'll have fun." Spectrum Singh well understood what was going to happen to her now and how low they could go. Inspector's eyes were furious. She shouted loudly and said, "Will you show off so much with the police? I'll have fun today. Let's take her to the police station. I will explain there." This time, Spectrum Singh was still silent. She didn't show any desire to reveal her identity. She was trying to see how much the administration could harass someone, how much they could persecute. Inspector was now upset. In front of him stood a woman whose soft, beautiful hair was scattered. She was being dragged on the street, but she was still silent as an idol. No shout, no cry. Inspector Prasenjit thought about what could be done to this stubborn woman at the police station. It was not just anger, it was a rage that was bursting inside. The inspector in charge said laughingly, "Now the tongue is also getting loose. Let's go to the police station. I will see how big your attitude goes." Upon entering the police station, the inspector shouted loudly and said, "Hey, where did you go? Bring water quickly." Today, special goods have arrived. Spectrum Singh was still watching the police station without saying anything. She was seeing how they were treating innocent people, those who could never even think of committing crimes. Then a constable whispered to Inspector Prasenjit, "What case, sir?" To the constable's question, Inspector Prasenjit came and said, "Hey, nothing much. Speeding or no helmet. Just give it in mind to break her arrogance. Don't ask too much." Listening to all the descriptions, but her eyes still didn't want to say anything, as if she wanted the police to reveal their true nature from their own mouth. Then the inspector sat in the chair and began spinning a pen on the table. After looking at Spectrum, he said, "Say your name. Where are you from? Whose daughter are you?" Spectrum remained silent. Inspector asked the question again. "Are you listening? What is your name?" But silence remained like a stone wall. Then the inspector hit the table so loudly that the sound rose throughout the police station and angrily shouted, "Don't you hear? Tell me your name quickly." Spectrum replied by turning her face. "Sumita Sharma." Inspector looked at her face and laughed. "Girl, you have experience in lying, but remember, if you are too clever, you will rot heavily." In the lockup where two prisoners were sitting before, one of them looked at Spectrum and said, "Sister, what crime have you committed?" Spectrum gave a light smile, but she didn't say anything. Now she was just watching how much this whole system had decomposed. If an SDO's condition is like this, without reason, the condition of common people is not difficult to imagine. Spectrum was now sitting in the corner of the cell. She was watching everything, listening to everything, and understanding every action. Inspector Prasenjit made a false report and said, "File theft and blackmail cases against her." He threw the file and said, "Come on quickly." A constable asked, "But sir, without proof?" Inspector laughed. "No evidence is made." After a while, when the constable was about to raise his hand on Inspector's order, then a stern voice was heard from the door. "Stop!" Everyone saw Senior Inspector Sanjay standing at the door. His reputation was somewhat better than others. He looked at the woman's condition inside and frowned. He asked, "What is happening?" Prasenjit smiled and said, "Nothing, sir, just teaching a street woman who was being too smart." Sanjay looked at Spectrum better. Her behavior didn't seem like an ordinary woman. He asked, "What is the crime?" Prasenjit was worried. He said, "Sir, she was misbehaving during checking." Sanjay had some doubt. He asked Spectrum, "What is your name?" Spectrum was silent. Prasenjit laughed and said, "Sir, she won't tell her name." Sanjay was now fully alert. He ordered the constable, "Keep her alone." Prasenjit was surprised. "But sir," Sanjay strictly said, "I will stay with her alone." Another cell was arranged. That was more smelly and dark than the previous one. Spectrum looked around. There was a broken table in one corner. On the side was a rusty iron rod. Now she was watching the dirty original appearance of the system more closely. Every moment her eyes understood that justice had died. Then a constable ran and said, "Sir, a big car has stopped outside." Prasenjit's heart was startled. He inquired, "Which car?" Constable replied, "Sir, government car." He went out early, and as he looked inside the car, his eyes widened on his forehead. He came back with a dry throat and said, "Sir," Prasenjit said, "What happened? Who is coming?" Trembling, he said, "Sir, Commissioner has come." Prasenjit's face became pale. Senior Inspector Sanjay Burma was also warned because now the matter had directly reached above. The Commissioner stepped into the police station and looked around with clear eyes. He looked at Prasenjit and asked in a stern voice, "Inspector, what joke is going on here?" Prasenjit said, "Nothing, sir. Just a small case." The Commissioner focused on lifting the files from the table and read them. His forehead was wrinkled. Then he said, pointing to the room, "Who is this?" "Sir, this woman has 420 and other cheating cases." The Commissioner asked, "Do you have proof nearby?" He said again, "No. Do you have evidence?" Prasenjit was now fully cornered. Commissioner asked the woman directly, "What is your name?" And for the first time, Spectrum Singh said with a light smile, "SDO Spectrum Singh." Silence spread throughout the police station. Everyone's face became pale. Prasenjit's hands and feet began to tremble. All the other constables stood in surprise. Prasenjit felt the ground removed from under his feet. The officer he thought was a thief was the officer who was running the law throughout the district. In fact, she was not an ordinary woman. She was SDO Spectrum Singh herself. She was dragged on the street. All that was harassment. The whole police station started to shake up. All the constables became stunned. The Commissioner looked at Inspector Prasenjit angrily and said, "How did you have so much courage to make false accusations against a senior officer?" Prasenjit tried to say something. Senior Inspector Sanjay Burma, standing there, said loudly, "Sir, I had said before that there was some problem." Now Prasenjit fell completely alone. Then Spectrum Singh, in her calm but firm voice, directly announced the judgment and said, "Prasenjit, now your job is gone. Your suspension is ready, and the case against you is now proceeding." Hearing this, Prasenjit's breath got stuck. The rest of the police turned away from him. Sanjay Burma immediately said, "Havildar, sir, hold him in lock-up." But then he took out a paper. "Look at this first, then do what you do." He showed the paper. Commissioner and Spectrum Singh both looked at it immediately. Prasenjit said, "This is my transfer order. 3 days ago I was transferred. Now no matter how angry you are, you can't remove me from the job." The whole police station became silent again. Spectrum took the paper in her hand. Senior Inspector Sanjay looked at Burma with the commissioner's eyes and said, "Go see if this paper is real or just for show." Sanjay raised his head and said, "Sir, it is true. But yet the new inspector in charge has not been transferred. That is, the real inspector is sitting here and all the misdeeds are done by him. Now no one can save him." Spectrum Singh kept her eyes on him and said, "Now your new address will be where you put others." The commissioner also nodded his head. Both constables were about to catch Prasenjit again when he said, "Stop, madam. I'm not alone. Do you think the whole fault is just mine?" Then he pointed toward other policemen of the police station and said, "They are all with me. Everyone is involved." The color of some police officers faded. Senior Inspector Sanjay Burma started looking at the situation one by one. Looking toward the commissioner, Spectrum Singh said, "Now this whole police station has to be cleaned. No one can be excluded." The commissioner also said, "Whatever is the command, madam. Now everyone will be accounted for." This came out of the mouth when some journalists outside the police station quietly stood who had already suspected some big commotion was going on in that police station. When they got the news that the whole police station was exposed, they started spreading the news from mobile. In front, a shiny car came and stopped. The door opened, and SP Sir himself came out. Looking around, he saw everyone's faces had fallen. All the police station officers were standing on one side, and SP Sir said, "What joke is going on here?" But the commissioner and police station in charge were standing completely silent. Then Spectrum Singh directly met SP's eyes and said, "What do you think? Will you survive?" Sanjay Burma took out the file and handed it to Spectrum Singh. That file contained all the black work of SP. Spectrum turned to SP Sir and said, "Take a look. All your wrongdoings are in it." Sweat appeared on SP's forehead. The commissioner no longer delayed and ordered, "Hold him. Arrest him." The whole police station was shocked. Such a big officer was being challenged publicly for the first time. With SP's arrest, storms arose in the entire district. The matter reached Delhi. The news reached up to the chief minister, and from there, direct orders came to hold all district officers who made noise. Within the next 2 days, more than 40 police officers from the entire district, more than 10 administrative officers, and some political leaders were arrested. The whole atmosphere of the district changed. Right now, the only discussion was SDO Spectrum Singh's honesty and courage, who shook the whole rotten system. Now there was new speed in the administration, there was new thinking, and the biggest thing was fear that no one now could survive. Spectrum Singh's work was finished. She showed that if you regularly clean from the heart, the whole country can also be corrected. The video is over. If you liked it, please give a like, subscribe, and stay with us.